throughout history, certain events have unfolded with such precise alignment to ancient prophecies that they challenge our understanding of time itself. The Transatlantic Slave Trade, one of humanity's darkest chapters, bears an uncanny resemblance to warnings written millennia before in the biblical book of Deuteronomy. This remarkable connection demands our attention and careful examination. In the ancient text of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 68, we find a haunting prediction that would manifest centuries later in one of history's most tragic episodes. The prophecy spoke of a return to bondage by ships, a warning that would find its terrible fulfillment in the transatlantic slave trade. This historical parallel deserves thorough analysis, not through the lens of speculation, but through careful examination of historical records and documented evidence. The transatlantic slave trade, spanning roughly from the 16th to the 19th centuries, saw an estimated 12.5 million Africans forced onto ships bound for the Americas. Historical records reveal the horrific conditions of these voyages, known as the Middle Passage. Captured individuals were chained together in ships' holds, with space so confined that people could barely move. The journey typically lasted between 6 to 8 weeks, with mortality rates reaching devastating levels due to disease, malnutrition, and the brutal conditions aboard these vessels. When we examine the specific language of the Deuteronomy prophecy alongside historical documentation of the slave trade, the parallels become increasingly striking. The prophecy specifically mentioned transportation by ships to a place where people would be sold as slaves, with no one to rescue them. Historical records show that captured Africans were indeed transported via maritime routes to various points across the Americas, where they were sold in slave markets, often with multiple family members being separated and sold to different owners. The scale of this human tragedy is almost incomprehensible. Historians estimate that for every person who survived the Middle Passage, many others perished during capture, the march to the coast, or the brutal ocean crossing. The mortality rate during the Middle Passage alone averaged around 15%, with some voyages losing far more lives. These statistics represent not just numbers, but individual human beings subjected to unimaginable suffering. The prophecy's specificity regarding the use of ships as a mode of transportation is particularly noteworthy. In ancient times, large-scale maritime slave transport was not common practice. The emergence of the transatlantic slave trade centuries later, with its heavy reliance on seafaring vessels, makes this detail especially remarkable. The ships became floating prisons, carrying human cargo across vast oceanic expanses in conditions that defy description. Archaeological evidence from slave ports, shipwrecks, and colonial records provides tangible proof of this massive forced migration. Excavations at sites like Elmina Castle in Ghana and various slave ports across the Americas have yielded artifacts that tell the story of this human catastrophe. These physical remnants align with written historical accounts and the prophetic text in ways that warrant serious consideration. The impact of this historical event continues to reverberate through generations. The forced diaspora created new communities across the Americas, with distinct cultural identities forged in the crucible of slavery. African Americans and Afro-Caribbeans today represent the living legacy of those who survived this horrific journey, their resilience a testament to human endurance in the face of unprecedented adversity. Modern scholarship has begun to recognize the profound psychological and social implications of this historical trauma. The separation of families, the erasure of cultural identities, and the systematic dehumanization of enslaved peoples created wounds that continue to affect communities today. The prophetic warning, seen in this light, takes on additional significance as a document that foresaw not just an event, but its long-lasting repercussions. The study of this historical prophetic connection raises important questions about identity, heritage, and historical memory. For many descendants of enslaved peoples, this alignment between ancient text and historical reality provides a framework for understanding their ancestors' experience within a larger historical and spiritual context. It offers a perspective that goes beyond the immediate historical circumstances to suggest a deeper significance to their heritage. As we continue to grapple with the legacy of the transatlantic slave trade, this prophetic connection provides a unique lens through which to view this historical tragedy. It challenges us to consider how ancient warnings could so accurately presage events that would unfold centuries later. The precision with which the prophecy described the method of transportation, the conditions of bondage, and the lasting impact of this forced migration demands serious consideration. In conclusion, the alignment between the Deuteronomy prophecy and the historical reality of the transatlantic slave trade presents a compelling case for examination. While maintaining scientific rigor and historical accuracy, we cannot ignore the remarkable specificity with which ancient text predicted one of history's most tragic episodes. This connection not only provides a framework for understanding this historical event, but also offers insights into the identity and resilience of those who descended from survivors of this terrible chapter in human history.